I am Kevin Stewart. I'm a leaf area meter technician at LI-COR Biosciences. I will be demonstrating how to replace the upper and lower belts on the LI-3100C. Okay, we're going to start by removing the power, disconnecting the power cord, and removing the cover. And this is the rear of the LI-3100C. We'll be removing the cover and disconnecting the power first. Just remove the cover. Okay. Okay, now we're going to be loosening the belts. Let's take the thumb screws all the way to the back clockwise until they're not touching the plates anymore. The rear and then over to the front. Okay, we're now looking at the front of the LI-3100C. We're going to loosen the black thumb screws on the front plate, and we're going to be loosening the large thumb screws front and rear. Now your belt should have slid forward, or the pulley plates should have slid forward. So the belts are now loose. Okay, after removing the cover, we're now going to remove the lamp. Now we're going to disconnect the lamp cord. And one technique you can use, take your thumb and your four fingers and put them both together and use your thumbs and your four fingers as the pressure points to separate the connector. The next step is to remove the front plate by loosening the 7 cap screws. And removing them. Okay, with the 7 cap screws out, before you actually start taking the front plate off, ensure that the roller, the idler pulleys, are resting on their support bracket. The next step is to remove the front plate and ensure that your large thumb screws are snug. And then carefully manipulate both ends of the front plate simultaneously, grabbing the lamp holder fixture. Alrighty, the next step is to remove the rocker idler assembly and the small idler pulley. All right, next we'll be removing the idler pulleys and then the belts. We'll start by lifting the idler pulley off the support bracket away from the groove here. Lift it so it's not catching on the groove. And rotate a little bit if you have to. Keep a firm grip on the pulley because they are heavy. Again, lift up slightly. Slide the pulley out of the belt. And then carefully remove the belts from the drive pulleys by again lifting up slightly and sliding the belts off. Same with the lower belt. And carefully manipulating the lower belt here between these support brackets. Next, we'll be reinstalling the belts, the new belts. Inspect them briefly to make sure there's no punctures, scratches, or debris. And we'll start with the lower belt, which is the longer of the 2 belts. And you'll first lift the lower pulley and carefully slide the lower belt around the lower drive pulley. And this will hold the belt in place while you manipulate the lower belt over the small idler support bracket and through the rocker idler post. Lifting up on the drive pulley at this end, sliding the other end as you're going. Again, try not to catch on the support brackets. There's your lower belt. Take your upper belt, quick inspection for debris or punctures or scratches. Slide the upper pulley, slide the upper belt, lifting the upper drive pulley and sliding it onto the drive pulley. Next, we'll be installing the small idler pulley. Note the end groove on the small idler pulley must face the front, and the rear end of this small idler pulley is flush. It must face in the rear. Okay, next we'll be replacing the lower idler pulley. Again, ensure that the groove is facing the front plate and the flush end is facing the rear. Slide the idler pulley through the lower belt. Rest your hand underneath to support the pulley and push the idler pulley through into the bearing of the rear plate and resting on the support bracket. Again, with the upper idler pulley, slide it through the upper belt, support it, and insert into the bearing and support on the bracket. Next, your small idler pulley. Again, the groove must be on the front plate, the flush end on the rear plate. Slide it through the lower belt and resting on its support bracket. All right, when we're placing the idler rocker, again, ensure that the notch is facing the front. Slide it through the upper belt. And ensure that the end pin rests into its designated hole, and rotate slightly until the notch's support bracket is resting right in the notch. Next we'll be installing the front plate assembly. Place it on to the unit and align the pulley ends with the bearings, all four of them, and ensure that the small pulley is also aligned with the small bearing. Once they are halfway in through the bearings, you'll need to lift the rocker idler so that the end pin on the rocker idler aligns with the hole on the front plate. Once that's lifted, it should slide right in. Just kind of give it a little tap. And you're ready to install the cap screws. Verify that the holes are lined up. And start installing them. Keep them loose, all 7 of them, until you're ready, until they're all in, and then you're ready to tighten all of them. You may have to lift the belt tensioner or push down. It depends on the alignment. Again, the same with your top bar. Ensure that the holes are lined up. Now you're ready to tighten all of them. Now we're ready for the rear again. And next we'll be reinstalling the lamp. Again, note the front and the up labels on the lamp. Ensure the front is in the front. Insert the pins on the front end first by slightly turning 45 degrees. Maintain the 45-degree position. Install the rear lamp socket again at 45 degrees. Rotate the lamp and the socket. Ensure that your cables underneath are not pinched. There's a small notch at the bottom of the lamp bracket socket here. Ensure those are in their respective notch. And reinstall the cap screws. And make sure your lamp is up according to the label. Lastly, we'll be reinstalling the cover. And then reinstall your power. Reinstall the lamp cord. Note they're keyed. Slight little click.